Let us be very clear from the beginning, laziness is not a weakness. It is a disease, a slow, creeping, soul-destroying disease. It masquerades as comfort, disguises itself as rest, and whispers seductive lies into your ears. You deserve a break, you've done enough, you can start tomorrow. But let me ask you, how many dreams have died at the hands of that seductive voice? How many plans have faded into dust because a man said later instead of now? Laziness does not come to destroy your life overnight. No, it is far more clever than that. It arrives quietly. It wraps you in soft blankets. It turns the snooze button into a ritual. It feeds you excuses and calls itself care. And before you know it, you've been robbed of years. Now listen, and listen well. Every second you delay, you are training your mind to accept defeat. Laziness is not simply a habit. It is a declaration of surrender. It tells the world that you are willing to exist in the shadows while others walk into the light. It is the enemy of greatness. You were not made to drift. You were not born to coast. You were built to climb, to sweat, to struggle, to persist until your hands bleed and your eyes burn with purpose. If you want power over your life, you must first take power over your time. If you want to change your future, you must declare war on the comfort that is stealing it. Get up when you don't feel like it. Do the work no one sees. Speak life into your day before the world has a chance to speak doubt. And when your body begs for rest, when your mind starts to negotiate, stand up and say, "Not today, laziness dies here." Do you think the successful became so by sleeping in? Do you believe the disciplined man is always motivated? No, he has simply learned to act regardless of how he feels. Discipline is the sword that cuts down laziness. Action is the antidote to every excuse. And purpose is the fire that makes all things possible. So ask yourself right now, what is your purpose? What are you building? Who are you becoming? Because if you don't answer that question, laziness will answer it for you. It will build a life you didn't ask for. It will shape a man you never meant to become. It will turn decades into regret. But not anymore. Today is the day you kill your laziness, not with noise, but with action, not with promises, but with proof. Not with someday, but with now. Make your bed, plan your day, move your body, build your dream. You owe it to yourself. Not because you're special, but because you're capable. And when the sun sets tonight, may it look down upon a man who conquered himself, a man who said no to weakness and yes to discipline, a man who silenced the inner voice of comfort and replaced it with the roar of determination. Kill your laziness before it kills your future, because the world doesn't reward what you intend to do. It only rewards what you get done. Now go and get it done. Laziness is not a thunderclap. It is a whisper. It does not arrive wearing the mask of evil or destruction. No, it wears the smile of comfort, the softness of ease, the warm robe of taking it slow. It tiptoes into your life, quiet and unassuming, and before you realize it, it has stolen your time, your energy, your ambition, and worst of all, your future. You must understand, laziness is not merely idleness. It is far more dangerous than that. Idleness is the absence of motion. Laziness is the rejection of progress. One is still, the other is slipping, and in that slow, subtle decline lies the greatest threat to every man's destiny. Because laziness, unlike pain or fear, does not strike you hard enough to wake you. It lulls you into sleep. It tells you stories. You've done enough today. You're tired. You deserve rest. You'll begin tomorrow. And what a lie that is. Tomorrow. There is no tomorrow for the lazy man, only an unbroken chain of wasted todays. And while he waits for the perfect moment, while he rests and recovers and convinces himself that the stars must align before he acts, The man of discipline is already 10 steps ahead, building. Learning, rising, the lazy man loses without even realizing he's in a race. Laziness is a habit formed in silence. No one applauds it, no one sees it, but it grows. It grows in every extra hour of sleep you did not need. It grows in every task you postponed, every morning you began without purpose, every evening wasted in mindless escape. It is death by comfort, and here is the harsh truth. You cannot detect its damage in a day. You will not feel ruined after 1 hour of doing nothing. But over time, laziness compounds just as discipline does. Where discipline compounds into wealth, health, mastery, laziness compounds into weakness, regret, and misery. You see, nature despises stagnation. The moment you stop growing, you begin decaying. A muscle not used will waste. A mind not sharpened will dull, and a dream not acted upon will vanish. Laziness is the silent agreement to rot, to waste, to fade without a fight. And yet, most people feed it. They give it time, attention, excuses. They allow it to dictate the pace of their lives. They confuse it for peace. They confuse it for balance. But there is no balance in a man who is slowly betraying his own greatness. The man who chooses comfort over action, who prefers fantasy over work, who lets the day slip from his hands. He may look like everyone else on the outside, but inside his soul is dying. He is not resting. He is rusting, and the worst part, laziness will never scream at you. It will simply let you drift. And drifting is the most dangerous place a man can be, because when you drift, you surrender control. You no longer steer the ship. You let the wind decide where you end up, and no man ever reached greatness by accident. So, what is the cure? It is awareness. It is decision. It is the firm declaration that I will no longer accept this slow death. It is rising up each day with urgency, with fire, with the clear understanding that life will not wait. Time will not pause for the man who needs another nap. Opportunity will not knock twice for the man who keeps pressing snooze. You must see laziness for what it is, not a personality trait, not a preference, not a harmless habit, but an enemy. One that comes disguised as comfort, but whose mission is destruction. When you kill laziness, you resurrect power. You take your time back, you take your life back, and you begin to live like a man who knows his days are numbered, and therefore treats every moment as sacred. The world has no place for the man who hides from effort, but it will open itself to the man who shows up, works hard, and keeps moving. Do not be fooled by the voice that says, rest a little longer. That voice does not want you to win. Rise, move, act, because laziness never announces its presence. It simply waits until one day you wake up and realize it already took everything, and you let it. Every action you take or refuse to take is shaping you. You are never standing still. You are either advancing toward your destiny or retreating from it. Every time you choose to delay, every time you say, I'll do it later, you are feeding weakness. You are building a habit of hesitation, and hesitation left unchecked becomes a habit of defeat. You must realize this truth. Your mind is always listening. It hears what you do far more than what you say. You can speak of ambition. You can dream of success. You can write goals on walls and speak affirmations into the mirror, but if your actions do not align, your mind takes note. And each time you delay, each time you postpone action, your subconscious learns something dangerous. That comfort is more important than commitment, that feelings outrank responsibility, that tomorrow is good enough. But tomorrow is not promised, and if it is, it does not promise you the same opportunity. Delay is theft. Time stolen from the work that could have been done, the growth that could have been earned, and the momentum that could have been built. Understand this well. Small delays become large defeats. One skipped workout becomes 1 week off. One postponed task becomes a backlog. One moment of hesitation becomes a mindset of avoidance. You don't lose the battle because of a single excuse. You lose it because you train yourself over time to tolerate them. What you tolerate, you teach yourself to accept. What you accept, you will eventually become. And if you become the kind of man who delays his own growth, then do not be surprised when your life reflects that very delay. Think of the man who puts off reading the book, writing the plan, making the call, waking up early. He believes he's waiting for motivation, or a better moment, or more clarity, but in truth he is digging a hole, and the longer he waits, the deeper it becomes. And deep holes are not climbed out of with wishes. They require a ladder built from daily discipline. And let me make this plain, motivation is not coming to rescue you. It is not waiting around the corner with a marching band and fireworks. Motivation does not create action. Action creates motivation. You must act first, even when you're tired, even when you're uncertain, even when your mind screams for rest or delay or distraction, because the instant you act, you shift the tide. You signal to your brain, we move forward regardless. You teach it that you, not your feelings, are in control. And that simple, repeated decision builds a life of power. Think of every successful man. He is not the one who waited for ideal conditions. He is the one who refused to delay, who pushed forward while others hesitated. He understood that time is not a gift, it is a loan, and every delay is interest added to the debt of regret. If you keep training your mind to delay, then do not be shocked when your dreams delay showing up, because success does not reward intention, it rewards execution. And execution demands urgency. You must become a man of now, a man who acts while others talk, a man who moves while others plan, a man who does the thing not when it is easy, but especially when it is not. That is the test, that is the standard. Because the future you want will not be handed to you gently. It must be seized, and seizing it requires swiftness, clarity, boldness, the ability to act without waiting for the perfect moment, because there is no perfect moment. There is only this one, so what are you teaching your mind right now with every decision you make or fail to make? You are casting a vote for the kind of man you are becoming. Choose wisely. Say no to delay. Say no to hesitation. Say no to the lie that later is the same as done. Do it now. Do it tired. Do it uncertain, but do it, because every time you act despite resistance, you train your mind for victory. And every time you delay, you train it for defeat. One path builds a legacy, the other buries a dream. Decide. Let it be known to every man seeking greatness, your feelings are liars, they will betray you. They will whisper comfort in your ear when pain is what you need. They will beg for rest when the battlefield demands motion. They will tell you that you cannot, when your soul knows that you must. If you live by your emotions, you will lose. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait forever. If you depend on motivation, you are building your future on sand. The successful man is not made in moments of inspiration. He is forged in fire, in the hours when he least feels like showing up, and yet does. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Emotion is the storm that tries to wash it away. Consider this truth. The world does not care how you feel. It cares what you do. Results are born of action. Not intention, not feeling, action. The man ruled by emotion is a slave to his environment. When the sun is shining and his body is rested, he moves. When the skies darken and his mood dips, he stops. He calls it balance. He calls it listening to himself. But in truth, he is being led, not leading. Discipline is leadership over self. It is the internal command that says, regardless of how I feel, I act. It is the quiet voice at dawn that says, get up. It is the steady hand in chaos, the anchor in storms, the map when emotions make you blind. Every man wakes up with resistance inside him. The weak one negotiates. He bargains with the clock, with his thoughts, with his energy. He waits for the perfect alignment of emotion and circumstance. But the strong man does not wait. He moves, he acts, he honors the plan, not the mood, because the mood will deceive you. The plan will free you. Greatness is not built in spurts of motivation. It is constructed brick by brick, day by day, in quiet acts of discipline that no one sees. The world applauds the champion when he lifts the trophy, but it forgets the thousands of mornings he lifted himself out of bed when he didn't want to. The unseen work is the real work, and the enemy of that work, emotion unchecked. You must become immune to your own excuses. You must learn to say, I hear you, but I do not follow you. This is self-mastery. This is discipline. The disciplined man builds a habit out of what others treat as optional. He trains when he's tired. He studies when he's distracted. He keeps his word even when it's uncomfortable, because he understands feelings are fleeting but results are permanent. Imagine for a moment if every soldier refused to fight unless he felt like it. What kind of army would that be? Weak, broken, defeated before the battle begins, and yet many men live their lives this way. They go to war with their goals only when they're in the mood. They expect progress from partial effort, and they wonder why they remain in the same place. Discipline is not about harshness. It is about honor. It is about keeping promises to yourself. It is about being the kind of man who says, if I said I would, I will, not if I feel like it, but because I said so. This is power, not over others, but over self, and self-mastery is the foundation of all other victories. Master your body, your schedule, your thoughts, and the world opens to you. But let your emotions govern your behavior, and you will forever be a servant to circumstance, so choose discipline. Even when you're tired, even when it's cold, even when the voices inside say quit, because those voices do not want you free. They want you ordinary, but you were not made for ordinary. You were made to rise above, and that rise begins the moment you choose discipline over emotion. The man who moves regardless of mood becomes unstoppable, and the man who waits to feel ready, he's already been left behind. Act now, not because you feel like it, but because your future depends on it. Excuses are the language of the defeated. They are the comfortable lies we tell ourselves to justify inaction, and the more we use them, the more we become prisoners of our own mind. No man climbs toward his destiny while clinging to reasons why he cannot move. Excuses feel good in the moment. They soothe your guilt, protect your pride, and offer temporary peace. But they are poison. Quiet, slow-working poison that destroys confidence, opportunity, and self-respect. You may not feel the damage at first, but over time they erode your power, and one day you'll look back and realize it wasn't the world that stopped you. It was your own refusal to act. Action is the antidote. Action breaks the cycle. Action silences the mind that says, you're not ready, because the truth is, you will never feel ready. That moment doesn't come. Waiting to feel prepared is like waiting for the storm to ask your permission to pass. The cure is not found in planning more, thinking more, or wishing more. It is found in movement, in doing. In taking the first step, imperfect, uncomfortable, unprepared, but forward, the man who takes action, even if it is small, starts to gather strength. Every time he moves, he builds momentum, and momentum, once born, is stronger than any excuse. Because when you act, you send a message to your subconscious. I am not here to wait. I am here to win. You cannot think your way into confidence. You cannot imagine your way into success. You must act your way there. The battlefield belongs to the doer, not the dreamer. There are men who wait for permission to start the business, to change their life, to chase their vision. But permission is not given, it is seized. The man who waits will always be overtaken by the man who moves. Because movement itself opens doors, it creates opportunities, it builds clarity. You cannot steer a parked car, and you cannot redirect a life that refuses to begin. Excuses often wear masks. They disguise themselves as logic, caution, self-care, but peel away the mask, and what you find is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. But here is what fear cannot survive: decisive action. When you act, fear retreats. It may not vanish, but it loses its grip, because fear feeds on hesitation. And hesitation only lives in men who wait. The ones who win in life are not the ones who never feel fear, but the ones who move through it. They feel the same fear you do, but they do not bow to it. They walk into uncertainty, not because they are fearless, but because they are committed. And that commitment shows itself not in words, not in plans, but in daily, disciplined action. Do not be deceived by the illusion of more time. You are not promised next week. You are not guaranteed another chance. You have today. That is all you have ever had. So what will you do with it? You can keep building a case for why you're not ready, or you can build a future by showing up and doing the work. The man who conquers himself, the man who acts in the face of doubt, becomes dangerous, because nothing can stop a man who refuses to be stopped. He doesn't need perfect conditions. He doesn't need applause. He just needs a reason, and action becomes his answer. Start now. Start scared. Start messy, but start. The excuses in your mind are not truth. They are tests. And the only way to pass is to act. You don't overcome laziness, fear, or failure by thinking your way out. You act your way through one small step, one bold decision, one moment of courage, again and again and again. That is how a man rises. That is how a man transforms, because while excuses sound good in the short term, action is what builds the life you were born to live. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can replace it. Hope without discipline is a silent thief. It promises much and delivers little. It keeps a man dreaming while robbing him of the very actions that would bring those dreams to life. You cannot wish your way to a better future. You must build your way there, brick by brick, through habits forged in the fire of discipline. A man may speak of goals, may whisper visions into the night, may surround himself with words like someday and maybe, but unless he has formed the habits to carry that vision, it will rot inside him, because it is not the dream that determines your future. It is the habits you submit to every single day. There are men who rise with grand ambition, but fall with small routines. Their minds reach for greatness, yet their actions reflect comfort. And that is where the battle is lost, not in the lack of desire, but in the lack of discipline. Desire without habit is a house without foundation. It may look promising for a while, but eventually it will collapse under the weight of inconsistency. You do not become strong by thinking strong thoughts. You become strong by repeating strong actions until they are no longer effort, but identity. Until waking up early is not a battle, but a standard. Until focus is not a choice, but a way of being. Until showing up is not a decision, but your nature. And how do you build such a life? Through habit. The man who wins is not always the most gifted, the most talented, or even the most intelligent. He is the one who builds systems. He removes the need for constant motivation by crafting a lifestyle that runs on structure. Habits are the silent architects of destiny. They build when you are tired. They continue when your emotions are low. They carry you when your mind wants to quit. You must become the kind of man who acts regardless of mood, not once or twice, but daily, because repetition is the mother of mastery, and habit is repetition made permanent. Look around. Every extraordinary man is a product of ordinary disciplines repeated over time. The athlete who trains before the world wakes. The writer who writes when the mind resists, the leader who makes decisions when fear is present, they have all built lives that move forward on schedule, not feeling. There is no magic, there is no secret, there is only repetition, and in repetition power grows. You may not control the outcome of today's effort, but you can control the habit of effort. You can choose to show up again and again, and let time compound your consistency into greatness. Hope without habit is like planting seeds in the desert. No matter how much you wish for fruit, nothing will grow. But build a system, water the soil, protect the ground, and keep working, and in time the harvest comes. Let this truth be burned into your spirit. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So stop depending on hope to carry you. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is the fuel, but habits are the engine. And if you never build the engine, the fuel burns out. Design your day, own your morning, guard your evening. Decide what you will do, and then do it so often that you no longer question it. Let habit become your default, so discipline no longer feels like sacrifice, but structure. So action no longer requires force, but flows from who you've become. The man who masters his habits masters his future. Because while others hope for change, he manufactures it. And when life becomes stormy and motivation disappears, as it will, he will not fall apart. He will rise, powered not by emotion, but by systems. He will act not because he feels like it, but because it's what he does. Hope may inspire you, but only habit will transform you. So build your life like a craftsman, with patience, with precision, and above all, with the unshakable commitment to daily action, because that's how greatness is made. Not in bursts of brilliance, but in consistent, quiet, disciplined habits that never miss. If you walk with the lame, you will learn to limp. If you keep company with men who spend their days talking, complaining, and waiting for miracles, you will absorb their habits like a sponge. It is inevitable. A man is not only shaped by what he thinks, but also by who he allows into his circle. Every time you share space with someone, you invite their energy, their mindset, and their standards into your life. So ask yourself, are you surrounded by men who move or men who murmur? Do the voices around you push you forward or pull you back? Are they building or are they just talking? Because talk is cheap, and it will bankrupt your future if you're not careful. The man who wants to kill laziness must become ruthless with his associations. He must draw a sharp line between those who inspire action and those who drain energy. There are men whose presence is a spark, whose discipline is contagious, whose lives are living proof that greatness is possible. And there are others comfortable, complacent, clever with words, but empty in action. They will tell you why it can't be done. They will mock your ambition. They will laugh when you rise early, call you obsessed when you train hard, and warn you against burning out, when all you're doing is showing up daily. Not because you are wrong, but because your effort exposes their inaction. Laziness often travels in groups. Men who do nothing seek the company of others doing the same, because it eases their guilt. But your life is too important to be diluted by dead weight. You must seek out those who move fast, who think big, who hold themselves to a standard so high it makes you uncomfortable. Comfort is not your friend. Growth demands tension, and nothing builds that tension better than being around men who are doing what you know you should be doing. It is better to be the least accomplished in a room of doers than to be the king of the unmotivated. Because when you are surrounded by excellence, it becomes your expectation. When you dine with warriors, you sharpen your sword. When you train with champions, your laziness begins to rot and fall away, because you can't survive in that atmosphere unless you rise. And that's the point. Surrounding yourself with doers doesn't just motivate, it transforms. You begin to think like them, plan like them, move like them. Their standards rub off on you, their hunger wakes yours, and before you know it, you're becoming what you once only admired. But this shift will require sacrifice. You may need to walk away from people you've known for years, not with bitterness, but with clarity, because staying in circles that normalize mediocrity is a betrayal of your own potential. You don't have to hate them, but you must outgrow them. You must seek alignment, not attachment, progress, not approval. And when you find those rare few, those individuals whose actions match their words, who rise with purpose, who live like every hour matters, hold on to them. Learn from them, and let their presence remind you of what's possible. A doer will not entertain your excuses. He won't let you wallow in pity. He will challenge you, correct you, and expect results from you. And that is a gift. Because in a world full of dreamers, talkers, and complainers, the doer is rare. He moves while others discuss. He builds while others wait. He shows up when no one is watching, and in the long game, he wins every time. So choose your circle with intention, audit your environment, make it your mission to be surrounded by those who make you better simply by being who they are. Because greatness is not just about what you do, it's also about who walks beside you. And if you are truly serious about killing laziness, then know this: you cannot fly with anchors tied to your feet. Cut them loose, seek the sky. You were never meant to crawl, you were meant to rise, and you rise fastest when you run with men who run.